the most valuable of all talents is that of never using two words when one will do. Someone somewhere, I don't know, I googled it like 5 minutes ago. Anyway, I've noticed a huge difference setting apart traditional stories and online fiction on sites like Webnovel, Railroad, or scribblehub. To put it simply, the literary qualities of novels on those sites are far below traditional books. This is very well illustrated by George Orwell in one of his publications, where he gives an example of modernization of the English language. I'm going to read it aloud now just to illustrate what I mean. Here's how a good text should look like. I returned and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, neither yet bread to the wise, nor yet riches to the men of understanding, nor yet favor to the men of skill, but time and chance happeneth to them all. And the exact same meaning but written in modern English. Objective considerations of contemporary phenomena compel the conclusion that success or failure in competitive activities exhibits no tendency to be commensurate with innate capacity, but that a considerable element of the unpredictable must invariably be taken into the account. Of course, as you can see, this is an over-exaggerated parody, but it illustrates well how the language is changing. And yes, these both paragraphs have the exact same meaning. You can pause and think about it if you want. It took me like 5 minutes to figure it out. Now, especially on Webnovel, most writers write in such plain modern English, and they make up for their lack of poetic creativity with more and more uncommon and scientific words, which often add no value to the story, and their writing is just sort of bland. They mistake complexity for quality. Both easy to understand and a bit more complex writing have a potential to be powerful, but when it comes to art like writing stories, there should be at least some artistry to it. And that is not done by just mindlessly putting harder words. Stories shouldn't be written the way people usually speak at their job or a family gathering, unless you're in a family of poets, of course, then you're probably fine. Listen, it takes 1,000th of the time necessary to create a scene in a movie to make the same scene in text, so please, at least try to make it as pretty as you can. And it's not about writing more uncommon words, but rather exploring the hidden potential of the ones you already know, and using them in a new and unexpected ways. And that's the way you should write, instead of trying to reproduce overly complicated sentences that someone already invented. You should try to show through the characters' actions what they're thinking, what's their personality, what they feel. Instead of just saying that they're angry or optimistic, the reader should use their mind to figure this out from your story on their own. But most novelists on the internet don't focus at all on perfecting their craft. Instead, they just prefer to pump out thousands of poor quality chapters. Something else I've noticed is how alike every story on Webnovel or scribblehub is. It's all the same, there is no difference in writing style. Which also kinda happens with drawings, by the way, that we have one or very few universal art styles and everything else is kind of a niche. Ideally, I would like different people to have different art styles or writing styles because it would make things more interesting. That's also why it's so hard to get into drawing these days, because everything looks like it's drawn by Chinese prodigy guy who drew cute anime girls for 8 hours a day ever since he was 5, but I digress. And so we arrive at the more interesting part of this video, which is the reason for why this happened and a possible cure. You've definitely noticed that I mentioned online novels specifically as the reason for the modernization of the English language. That's because every modern novel website has a novel recommendation system. And those systems are at fault. They work in a way that favorizes the writers who write more. For every chapter you release, all of those sites give you a spot on recently updated section, and that means more exposure to new readers. So writers have the incentive to write more poor quality text, because then they will get more viewers. Webnovel is especially bad as you get more money if you pump out more chapters, as evident in my other video. Scribblehub and Railroad are slightly better in that matter, but it's because the artists there either don't make money at all, or they make money through donations or Patreon, where in theory payout isn't directly dependent on the amount of chapters, but in practice it is, because they need to write more chapters if they want to be noticed by a larger group of readers. Now you might say, okay, I get you and everything, but you're a complete retard. Why do you compare online novels to traditional books with a ton of editing? It's obvious they will not be quite as good as the traditional books with a whole lot of people who help to make them perfect. And I understand what you mean, but, well, there are two buts. One, it's not hard to at least try to write well, assuming you write for passion. I've seen a lot of online stories with little to no editing, beating most of the traditional books in contest of quality, passion, and intrigue. But these stories actually try to show, not tell. And they were written because of passion, and published on a site that promotes stories based on the number of likes, and not the number of chapters. So your story only gets pushed to more people if it's good. The result? Average quality of the text on that site is double that on, for example, Webnovel. And that's the solution. Just alter the algorithm to reward the good stories instead of the long stories. Now, unfortunately, I don't know many sites like that. There's just one that pops into my mind. In case you wondered what site I'm talking about, it's femfiction.net. But I really wish there would be a site like this that would go outside the niche of ponies. If anyone knows a site like this, please tell me. I've been looking for something like that for quite a while and couldn't find anything. And what do you think about it? Is this modern English, as Orwell calls it, really a problem? Or maybe there are many well-written stories that I just somehow missed? Please comment and have a great night.